action. This will be a dissection of the brain. So I just want to remind you, we're going to do the brain in 4 parts, like a mushroom. So if we kind of looked at this real quick from the underside, this would be like the stalk of the mushroom right here. This is the brain stem. Then behind the brain stem right here is the cerebellum, where my thumb and forefinger are. Above the brain stem, but before we get to the cap, inside here is the diencephalon. I'll show you that. And then the big part of the mushroom kind of hanging over the whole stalk, this is the cerebrum. Okay, so let's start with the cerebrum first. Some of the things I asked you to do in class was to identify or differentiate between a gyrus and a sulcus. So all these outward folds right here, guys, these are the gyri, and then the sulcus is the groove right next to the gyrus. So all these are the sulcus. All right, we also said that the cerebrum has a left side and a right side. So this is the left cerebral hemisphere. This is the right cerebral hemisphere. The fissure, which is going to separate a little bit, that separates the left and right cerebral hemisphere is the longitudinal fissure. Okay. We said in class also that there's a piece of meninge that comes down and separates that. We can see that here, like this. This would be the front, this would be the back. This piece of tissue right here is actually going to sit right in this groove. This is known as the falx cerebri. Right, next semester, like I said, when you study this again, you'll actually learn these veins, these sinuses that are in there. But this is the falx cerebri. The other groove that I want you to know, separating the cerebellum, I'll put it over here for you guys in the front and in the back here, separating the cerebellum from the cerebrum, this is the transverse fissure. This also has a piece of meninge sticking in there. This is known as the tentorium cerebelli. So this would kind of fit in like that, or the tentorium cerebelli, intense over the cerebellum. All right, so this model here, 2 things I could ask you: falx cerebri, tentorium cerebelli. That's it. Vince, just give me that hand out there. I just want to make sure I'm not jumping around too much I don't want to deviate too much from what you guys did. Okay. One important sulcus that I do want you to know, you're going to identify it because it goes from the left side of the brain all the way over to the right side here. This is called the central sulcus. It's right about in the middle of the brain, right? Central sulcus. It separates the frontal lobe here from the parietal lobe in the back. The central sulcus, and just on this model here, is this one right here. Again, it's a big sulcus going right across. The central sulcus has 2 important gyri that I want you to know. In the front, this is the pre-central gyrus. This is the primary motor area. All of your voluntary movements initiate here. And this is the post-central gyrus. This is where all perception is from your body. All the senses on your body come right here. All right, so central sulcus, pre-central gyrus, post-central gyrus. A couple cranial nerves on the cerebrum that I want you to know. Cranial nerve number 1 is called the olfactory nerve. That's this guy right here. It has a swelling known as the olfactory bulb. And then this line right here is the olfactory tract. These 2 nerves here are the optic nerves. They're coming from each eyeball. This is cranial nerve number 2, or the optic nerve. Either answer is correct. And we said earlier that your optic nerves, as they come backwards, cross. That crossing is called the optic chiasm, and that's represented right here. That's the crossing spot. So that's the optic chiasm. As far as the lobes of this cerebrum, so from the central sulcus forward, guys, frontal lobe. From the central sulcus backwards here, parietal lobe. In the back, all the way posterior, this is the occipital lobe right here, right? So where vision takes place. And then my middle finger here and my thumb, this is the temporal lobe right there. Hearing, smell, taste, things that happen there. So those are our lobes. The next couple structures I want you to find, you're going to open up the brain like this. Oh, lost the cerebellum. Look at that. This structure here is the corpus callosum. Right under it here, septum pellucidum. Here is the fornix. Right, so this forms the roof of the lateral ventricle. This is in between the lateral ventricles. This is the floor of the lateral ventricles. Right, so that's it for the cerebrum. The next area is the diencephalon. Anything that has the name thalamus belongs to the diencephalon. Let's start with the thalamus. So the almond-shaped structure right here is the thalamus, and then attached to it is the interthalamic adhesion. This allows the right thalamus to attach to the left thalamus. The area below the thalamus right here, guys, is the hypothalamus, and one piece of tissue coming from the hypothalamus right here, where my stick is the mammillary body. The epithalamus is above the thalamus. So again, if this was the thalamus right here, epi means above. So right here, this general region is the epithalamus. This is the choroid plexus in red, right? Since they're capillaries, they're always going to look red. And one other structure is the pineal gland. I like it better on this model, actually. Same thing. Here was the epithalamus, here's the thalamus, here's the hypothalamus. This red structure here, guys, this is the choroid plexus, and then this little gland right over here on the posterior aspect of the choroid plexus, that is the pineal gland, right, that produces melatonin, number 23 on this model. I actually like it real good on this model. You see it well. Okay, epithalamus. That's that.